And so this is being recorded. The previous one was recorded as well and shared. This one is being recorded and will be shared as well at the end of the session. So do make sure to keep your mics muted. If you do have a question, there's a chat feature up at the top. Just click on the chat, type in your question. At the very end, we're going to answer those questions. And we will get started. So, as I mentioned, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into portrait images. All right, so a couple of weeks after your retake day, your portrait images are going to render on the site. If they haven't rendered within that, maybe give it 3 weeks. If they haven't rendered after 3 weeks, contact your rep, and it may be Lindsay Getz, it may be me. But if it's not, contact your yearbook rep. And if you don't know who that is, I think everybody did on the registration know who their rep was. But if you don't, let us know and we'll let you know who that is. But contact that rep. And we'll make sure to get those portrait images uploaded. So on your main dashboard, up at the top under the Manage Assets or the little mountain icon is going to be your portrait images. So click on that. And again, I apologize. This is a demo site, so it does look a little wonky. Yours will be a little bit more organized than this, but you will have sorts, and within those sorts are going to be your portraits. And so one of the first things that you want to do is to check your unassigned folder. So it's not normally checked, so you'll just go in here and click the unassigned folder and it will pop up. And I do have a lot of folders to go through right here, but you will not have as many. So alphabetically, it should come up pretty quickly. But on picture day, we may not have received information for some students, or you have some new students that came in and a grade or a teacher wasn't assigned to them. So they just fall into the unassigned folder. And so you'll find that folder and you'll click on it. And then I just have a few in here to show you what can be done. So here is a couple of faculty or staff and a couple of students. So you'll click on their name and then you'll assign them to the group that they need to be in. So I have a staff 2024 set up that I'm going to put the staff members into. So select it down here at the bottom, hit add, and then hit save. And then that staff member will disappear and go to that sort. And then same for the students, you can put them where they need to go and hit save. And then now they will be where they need to be. And now you have no more in your unassigned folder. So just make sure that you check that folder and get anybody. And you may even have somebody that says like 0101 as their name. And that's because we somehow didn't get their name entered in the system when we took their picture. So just find their name, get that information in there and get them where they're supposed to be. So we'll leave anybody out of the yearbook. And then I'm also going to show you. So if you do need to change a student's name, so as you're going through and proofing, so let's say, for instance, this child goes by a different name, or this is his brother, and we just need to change his name. You're going to click to use a nickname so that it will allow you to type in here. And you will fix the name and you'll hit save, and then that name change will be made. And all of this needs to be done before you flow. So just as you're working in here, make all of your changes and get them assigned to where they're supposed to be. And then you can also use this search feature right here. So if you are missing a staff member, for instance, sometimes they get weird designations. Sometimes they'll tell the photographer their grade that they teach and they get there. But we're going to look for Chris Carlson. So you can come into search and you can just put a part of the name in there and search just in case there is a misspelling. Sometimes it'll pick it up. So here's Chris Carlson. So we're going to click on his name. And we are going to go in here and see that he was in admin. So we really want him in that staff 2024 folder. So we can come in here and add him. And then I also want you to notice that he has been designated as a student instead of a staff, and I'll show you what that does to him in that staff folder and how to fix that. So we're going to go now and find where he has been put in the staff 2024. So here he is, and now he is in the very end. So his last name's a C. He should be really the first person. But because our system prioritizes staff over students, he wasn't. So we're going to go in here and change him to a staff and hit save. And then, well, we have all the misters that is throwing it, but now he is in alphabetical order right here. Now you can also, it depends on how you flow your staff. Different schools do different ways, but for instance, right now it's just going to flow alphabetically. If you don't pull out your admin and either make them larger or separate them somehow on your faculty and staff pages, you can put them at the front of the alphabet and they'll flow first. So say Miss Lawrence here is is the principal and you want her first, then you can use these little arrows at the top and move the faculty and staff to a different spot. So say she's the principal and then Mr. Lee is the assistant principal. You want them to flow first and then everybody else after them alphabetically. Then that is how you can do that. So that is an option right there for your faculty and staff. And then sometimes with data, for instance, if we get data from your central office and the kindergarten classes haven't had their teachers named yet, we just get all of the kindergarten with no teacher assigned. So then that's how that information will come into your portrait library. So if you are needing to separate out a big group like that, I'm going to show you kind of a faster way to do it. You can create a new group. You can do this with staff as well. Like if you're going to flow just faculty or just staff and you need to kind of separate them out, you can do that. And so I'm going to create a group right here. And so let's just say this is going to be Kindergarten Jones, and I'm going to add subjects. And then I'm going to select that kindergarten grade. So all of the kindergarten are in this grade. And then I'm going to just know which students are in that particular kindergarten class. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select those students that are in that class, and I'm going to add to group, and then I'm going to save that group. So now in my Kindergarten Jones, I have that group. And then you can create another group for Kindergarten Smith and add the other students. And now you have them separated by teacher so that when you go to flow, they will flow by teacher. So that's one reason you would want to create a group. And like I said, another reason might be with your faculty and staff, or you just want to pull a segmented group out to flow separately. Then you can create the group right there. And then you can also search for them as well and just put in a name, find them, and add them to the group. So you can do that too. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to add a new record. So I showed you last time, but just to kind of go over in the last webinar, but just to kind of go over it again, get in the class that you're wanting to add the students. So whether you have gone and taken a picture of them or they transferred in from somewhere and you already have a picture, you go to that classroom and then you go to new record, top right, and then you are going to type in their name and then you're going to add image. If you've already uploaded the image, it's going to be in your image library and you're going to be able to, did I hit add image? Then you're going to be able to go ahead and select it. If you haven't at this point, you're like, oh, I forgot to upload it. You do have the option right here to upload it, but I've already uploaded new student. So I'm going to use that image, hit save, and then he's going to appear in this group ready to flow when it's time to flow. So that is how you add a new student into a current classroom or grade. And then the same goes for if you need to remove somebody. If you are in, go ahead and open that grade. And then, so say this student doesn't go there anymore, or he barely went to the school at all, you just hit remove subjects and hit OK. And that message is telling you that it's going to put in the unassigned folder. And that's why we suggest to look at the unassigned folder in the beginning. So then if you do have to remove anybody and it goes into the unassigned, you know that it's in the unassigned for a reason, because you put them there and because you needed them there. Okay. And then, so as you are going through this process, one thing I recommend as well is to export the class as a PDF. So if you click over here on the right, if you're in the class, export as PDF, it's going to download it to your computer. And then you can save this and you can send it to the teacher. You can send it to a guidance counselor, whoever you're having help proof. So I usually suggest sending it to the classroom teachers and saying, hey, let me know, are these the kids in your class? Is anybody transferred to a different class? Have you had anybody transfer in? Are the names spelled correctly? Do you have anybody that goes by a different name that we need to change it to? They can mark it up, send it back to you, and then you can make those changes like I just went over on there. But I would highly suggest doing that and kind of delegating some of that proofing out for sure. Okay, so now we are going to look at creating a portrait layout. So you can do this now. So say your retake day isn't until the beginning of December and you don't have portraits at this point in time, you can go ahead and do this step and get your portrait pages ready for when the portraits do come in, then you can flow. Or if your portraits are in, it's time and you can go ahead and do that as well. So over here on the left under layout, we have some portrait layouts already created that you can choose from. So you can kind of go down through here and see if there are any that you really like. We're going to start from one that is already created. So let me find it. So I'm going to pull over this 115. So this is if I want to put a classroom of students on here with their teacher's picture kind of larger in the top left. Now you can put this on both pages. I'm just going to show you how to do it on one page, make all your changes, and then copy it over to the other page. So I've dropped it on the left-hand side, and then you can make your changes. So when you click on your portrait grid and go to tools, you can make all kinds of changes. So say you want the name to be under, and that's the first, change that you want to make. So you go in here and you change that to be under. And then let's say we want our portrait frame. Right now it's rectangle. You can change it to a circle. You can also change it to rounded corners. So I'm just going to change it to a rounded corner. You can also change the border color and thickness. And then portrait sizes. So it always defaults to an A unless you pick one of these over on the left that already is a head size larger. And this is kind of a weird, so it looks like you should just drag it, and you kind of can, but it's just a little bit of a delay. So just give it a little bit of a moment, but you can also just click right above the letter, and then you can kind of see what size you want and then land on the one that you want. And then under portrait panel, you can make all kinds of changes. So you can add a column, you can add rows, decrease rows. You can play with the horizontal and the vertical spacing if you need to make things wider, make any changes there. Now, what I suggest is to look at the largest class that you have and make a template for that, because what will happen when you flow is if it doesn't need all of these boxes, they will just disappear at the end. So you don't have to worry about that, but you can go ahead and make some adjustments knowing, okay, well, I don't have a class that's any larger than 21 kids. So I know that I can go ahead and set it up for 21, and then that gives me some space for some canvas at the bottom. So Make all of your changes to your portrait grid that you want. You can also change the, whoop, I missed it. Hang on. Your name, font, and color. You can change the color and do some changes within there as well. But then I'll say make all of the other changes that you want on the page. So say you want to extend this bar across here, and you want to change it to the color that, you know, matches your theme. You can come in here and change that. We'll need to send it to the back. So up here under order, send to the back so it doesn't cover up your teacher. And since I rounded these, I may want to go in here. And this is another step 2. So under border and shape options, your corner radius right here, you can come in here and change that number, and that will round the corners of any of your rectangular boxes that you have on your page as well. So that's where the corner radius is within there. And then you can go ahead and come in here and make changes to your font. So the suggestion for this theme is Century Gothic, but you can do whatever you want. And then I usually suggest to go ahead and come in here and type, for the most part, what you're going to have. So it's just less typing. And then really after you save your custom template, you're just changing the name and then the grade. And then let's say, for instance, you want to add some image shapes. Come over here. And so here's some, just an opportunity to have some little candids at the bottom. So I'm going to do that. And then, I don't know, maybe make them crooked. I'm copying and pasting so they're the same size. And then you can come in here and give them different angles and just kind of scatter them along the bottom here. Okay, so then let's say you're like, okay, this is how I want my pages to look. So one thing you can do is just copy and paste all this and put it on the other side. But you will have to do some moving around because it'll keep this teacher box on the left and that kind of thing. Well, I'll just show you real quick. So if you just copy and paste, you know, it's doing the exact same thing. But if you want this to kind of be mirrored, we do have a mirror option, but you will want to go ahead and select everything. So I'm grabbing on a spot on the background that does not have an element, and I'm dragging over all of the elements, and it's selecting them all. And then I'm going to copy. So I'm hitting Control C. You can also come up here and hit copy. And then I'm going to go over here to more actions, and I'm going to mirror page. And then I'm going to paste what I had just done on this left side. So now you have the mirrored image, and you did all that pretty fairly quickly. And then you'll want to save it. So now, so say, okay, this is the spread that I want, and I want this on all of my portrait pages. Then we have the option to save as a custom layout. So under more actions, you're going to come up to save as custom layout, and you're going to name it whatever makes sense to you so that you can find it in your custom layout later and know what you need to do with it. So I'm just going to call this class pages. Keep it on single page left and right so that if you do end early or don't need to have a portrait page on one side or the other, it's not stuck on a double page spread. So I'm going to save that. And so now this is saved as a custom layout. So if I go over here under layouts and I go to custom layout, it's generating right now, but it's going to be right here, class pages. And then I can drag and drop that onto my other pages and be ready to flow. Okay, so I am going to show you now how to flow. So this is your portraits are ready. You have proofed them. You are feeling really, really good about it. You're going to click on portrait images on the left, and then you're going to have some main designations over here. So you're going to need to know whether they're under teacher if you're flowing by teacher, they're probably going to be under teacher. I'm going to go to creative group because that's where I have put the ones that we're going to flow. And so I'm going to grab this Emily Ashley right here, and I'm going to just drag this whole little area right here, and all the words are coming with me, and I'm going to drag and see how it turns yellow, and then I'm going to drop it onto the page, and those images are going to flow into those boxes. And then the image boxes that were not needed just disappear. So now we have, with a drag and drop, flown excuse me, Miss Ashley's group onto the page, and it is ready to go. Now, if, for instance, you figure out, oh, wait a minute, I did forget, or somebody told you later that this student needed to be removed, you can go right here and go to edit, or you can go back to your portrait images to Miss Ashley's group and remove that student. So say we're going to go to Emily Ashley, and you were told that this student needs to be removed. So you remove him. He goes into the unassigned folder. This message pops up. This group is already flown. Please reflow the group to make the changes. So we are going to go back to that page. And as a shortcut, I'm putting it in up here because I already know what page I'm going to. So I put in page 12 right here and then hit go. So I'm back to this page, and that change hasn't been made. He's still there because we haven't told it to reflow. So we're going to click on the grid. We're going to go to the tool. We're going to go to reflow, unflow group, and then we're going to reflow. So when we reflow that, then that student is going to disappear, and the rest of the students are going to shuffle. And now you have an updated class on your page. And now we need to stick the teacher in the top left-hand corner. So under portrait images, from where I earlier grabbed the whole group name. So I'm going to go to my staff 2024. Instead, I'm going to hit this little black arrow or triangle beside it. And you're going to have to scroll back down. And so here are the teachers individually, the portraits individually. So if I grab the name, it's all going to come over again. But if you grab their face, it will manually allow you to just put that one image in an image box, or the portrait in an image box. So you just grab their face and drag and drop them onto the page, and they will be there. All right. So, okay. So now, for instance, let's pretend this isn't the design we want, and we had decided that we want to make this box really big, and I mean, we can't because it's going to cover up these two boxes, and we need to get rid of them. So what you want to do is click on the portrait grid, go to your tools, and you're going to click edit image container. So this is just another way to have some flexibility with these boxes. So these down here didn't flow, right? Because there weren't enough students. Well, now we're telling it, we don't want you to flow in this area for whatever reason. So I've unclicked them, and now you can come in here and make your teacher box bigger, or whatever it was you were wanting to do in that space. And then you can flow that group. So I'm going to come back over here and flow first grade Miss Sarah. And then you can see that they didn't flow in those two spots that I unchecked it. So that's a way that you can even have more creativity on your page, essentially. And then you also have the ability, so this little Simon student right here, was one that you took with your camera and uploaded, and his head's a little bit smaller. If you want to come in here and hit the edit, which is that little pencil, click on his box and double click, just like you do your regular images. You can come in here and zoom a little bit and get him to the size that matches everybody else's head size. Click off, and now he is good to go. And I did that with that little pencil right there. That's how you kind of zoom in and zoom out. And there's a little bit of flexibility there. Now I'm also going to show you, let me unflow this real quick. And this is very flexible. Don't be scared of the flowing. Like you can flow, you can unflow, you can reflow. It lets you do all of that. I am going to show, so some schools like to flow their teacher within this set. So say they don't have this big box right here. Let me go ahead and add these container boxes back. And they want their teacher to flow with it. So like this Eric Atwood, I've set it up that way. So I'm going to drag and drop it over here, and his image is going to be in the first box. So to set that up in the portrait images, you would just put his faculty picture in with his class, and because he was noted as staff, he will get priority and will flow first, and then the other students will flow afterwards. So that's just an option if you want to do it that way. And then we also have the option, for the most part, you want to make all of your name changes, especially spelling and things like that, on in the library. But if you have a situation where like this student right here is showing on 2 lines and that drives you crazy and you really need it to be on 1 line, you can click excuse me, you can click on the little pencil and then click on his image and right click and go to edit individual student name. And what that is going to do is essentially turn his name box into a text box. So you have more flexibility. So you can go in and make it smaller, the font size smaller if you want to, or you can make it just a little bit bigger and, you know, spread it out. So it just kind of depends on what works for you, but that is how you can go in and individually work on the names in here. But like I said, if it's a spelling, especially if it's a last name, you want to do it in the portrait library so it flows correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, I'm going to hit save because it's not an autosave program. So just remember as you're working on your pages to make sure to hit save. And I'm also going to show you how to flow onto multiple pages. So right here, we just flowed one group onto one page, but say your faculty and staff is going to go over 2 pages, or you flow, you know, all of your 6th grade together if you're middle school and your 7th grade together. And so it's going to be over multiple pages. Then, and just for time's sake, I went ahead and set up a template. So I grabbed, this is one of our pre-designed layouts, and I just dragged and dropped it onto the page. And so I'm going to go over here to my portrait images, and I am going to flow this grade onto these 2 pages. And the same thing goes if you need 4 pages, then you would just put this layout on the next 2 pages and you would drag and drop your group onto the first page that it needs to flow on. And then this box is going to pop up and it's going to tell you how many pages that it needs to flow. And ideally, you've done the math and you know that it's going to work out. If not, it's going to give you a big red warning down here and you'll have to make some changes. You'll have to add pages. But hit continue, and then those are going to flow onto both of those pages. And then if you have some space left over at the end, there's multiple things that you can do with it. You can add candid boxes or for candids, image boxes for candids at the bottom, like I did on the other page. You can do a quote, you can do other embellishments or clip art. So, or you can leave it blank. You do not photographed list, just kind of depending on how much space you have and if you need some more coverage in your yearbook. Okay, so let's now talk about, I'm going to go back to so now you've kind of started working in your book. You've looked at this beautiful custom layout that you've created, and you're like, you know what? I cannot take this black border that's around here, but I've already saved this as a custom layout. And if you make the changes in the page builder and save it as another custom layout, it already has a custom layout called Class Pages. So you're going to end up naming it like Class Pages 2 or Class Pages 3 or Class Pages Final. But you can make bigger changes under Book Builder, under Custom Layout. So I'm going to show you that. So if you're on the page and you're like, okay, this is Miss Ashley's first grade, this is Mr. Tim's first grade, those are the kind of changes you'll make in Page Builder. But if you're wanting to make big changes to your custom layout and you're wanting it to be within this one that you created so that you can apply it to the other pages, then you want to go under that Book Builder, Custom Layout, and make the changes here. So say you just want to come in and you don't want the black border, you want it white like the other ones, or whatever the change is. Then you make your change, you hit save, and then when you apply it to the pages moving forward, then it's going to have that change on there. So those are kind of the two changes that you might make, little changes to each individual page you want to do in Page Builder. But if it's a change to the main one, then you want to come in here and make it to the custom layout under Book Builder. And so then now your change has been made and you can apply those to the pages. All right, so now we are going to get into a little bit more of tips and tricks and shortcuts to help with efficiency within Book Builder. So one thing that you can do to help you save time, and especially if you like have a yearbook class and you're like, hey, our headline, we want this particular font, this size, this color, all of our headlines are going to be this. And that's a good idea anyway, just for consistency and flow through the yearbook. But it does get a little time consuming if, you know, on every single page, you're having to go in and 5 or 6 clicks to get that change made. You can come in to Book Builder Styles and set up some styles. Oh, see, I didn't save. I'm going to save. Make my custom layout change that I made. So you can go under here to Book Builder and Styles, and you can essentially create how you want your text boxes to look with one click versus 5 or 6. So we're going to set up a headline style, and you want to create a custom style and you want to name it. So I am going to name it Page School Headline. So there's no confusion. And then you can base it off of a style. You don't have to. I'm just going to do no limits. But you're pretty much going to guess I had to shorten my name. Okay. So, but you're essentially you can make all these changes anyway. So you don't have to do it off of a certain sample, but you can. So I'm going to go in here and do Century Gothic. I'm going to make this a size 36. And I'm not going to do anything with the format. For the alignment, I'm going to center it. And I'm going to change the color to this blue that goes with the theme. So I'm going to change that. I'm not going to do anything with the linear tracking. And I'm going to save this. So I've now saved this as a custom style. And now I'm going to show you how to apply this. So I have a activity layout that I've created on page 2 and 3. And when you bring over a layout, it just automatically brings it in like Times New Roman. And I think it brings it in 36, but it'll just say headline 36 point or something along those lines. So, and like I said earlier, you can click on it and you can go in and you can change the font and the size and the color and the spacing and alignment and do all that. Or you can come in here to your style, go to headline style, and click that page headline that we did. And so with that click, now all of those changes have been made that we know that we want. And then I can click in here, hit my Control A to select everything, and type my headline. and not move the body copy underneath it. Okay, so now we have that. So that's just a little shortcut. You don't have to use styles, but if you want to, it's there, and you can do it for body copy and captions as well. And then, okay, so then another little book builder shortcut. I think I showed this on the last webinar, but it's always helpful to show it again. Let me get everything kind of smaller here. So say you've got this layout and you're like, you know what? I really want a border around all of these pictures. You can do it individually, but what you want to do is click on the first image, hold down your shift key, and click on all of the other images that you want to create a border around. Find your little tools and then go to your border and shape options. Sometimes you have to pick your style. You'll want to do your thickness right here. And then you can go to your border color. So say you want it, yet again, another kind of color to match your theme. Then it applies it to all of those image boxes. So just make sure that if you are needing to do something to multiple things on the page, that you try that option first. Hitting your shift key, selecting all the items, going to tools, and making that change at once. It'll just save you some time. And then, for instance, say, oh my goodness, I really love this layout and I would like it for my other sports pages, but I don't necessarily want the exact same layout, but I just want it changed up a little bit. You can go back to that mirror option that I showed you earlier. And now that something's on both pages, it is truly going to mirror both of them. And so you can click mirror and it will flip it. And then you can now save this one as a custom layout as the opposite. And then you can kind of alternate them through your yearbook for those sports pages, for instance. So that's how you mirror pages. And then I'm going to show you, so you can also do some fun things with text. So I'm copying and pasting this image and just bringing it down here. So say I have this image and I am wanting this text right here to go around it. So I have this image that I've set right here. I have my text box. You can do what we call text wrap. Now, normally you already have the image and the text is on top of it. Well, let me just show you what it looks like on top. So this is how it normally looks. And you're like, obviously I don't want that. I want it to wrap around it. You do need to send your text box to the back. So do your order, send it to the back, or bring your image to the front, either way. And then have your text box selected, go to tools, go to text wrap, and then click to activate text wrap. And hang on, and it will wrap around your box. I had it too far up. So yeah, so it'll wrap around that box like that. And then you do have a little bit of padding that you can play with as well. Hang on, let me get to the right menu. If you do want a little bit more space off to the side of it, you can increase your padding. But otherwise, that's how that text wrap works. Just make sure that the text box is behind the shape or the image box that you're trying to wrap it around. And then another tool, and I did show this one last time, but I'm going to show it again. So just for instance, say you're wanting more coverage in your book and you decide, hey, I actually want 3 of these, boxes down through here of kids. So you add your little box, and to get them lined up, like I didn't even try, these are all over the place. Shift again and select all 3 of your boxes, go up to your align tool right here, and then align whichever way you want. I'm going to align to the left to get them lined up right there. And then you can also distribute spacing, which is the next one. Now these are vertical, and actually looks like I did a pretty decent job. Hang on, let me make it look worse. So you can really see the power of the distribute spacing. All right, so yet again, I'm going to hit my shift and select all of them. and then distribute vertical spacing, and it's going to even that space up between the first and the last one that you selected. So align and distribute spacing. I cannot tell you all enough. These are the best tools ever. So just make sure that you use them and you will love them forever. And all right, so another tool that we have that you really need to use is our spell check. So you get your words typed in there. Under more actions, you have check spelling. So you're going to click this, and it's going to go through all the words on the page. If you have any of the filler text, you need to get rid of that because it will pick up on all of the filler text that it doesn't have in its dictionary. But so, oh, look, I've misspelled confidence. So it gives you a suggestion down here, and then you can change it. It's going to change it. I misspelled additional, change. Mr. Branham, that is how he spells his name. So you can ignore once, you can ignore all. I have him in there a couple times, so I did ignore all. And then it says spell check complete. So it's made all of those corrections. So just make sure before you hit submit, and kind of as part of your final editing and proofing, that you do under more actions, do that check spelling and make sure you don't have any spelling. And you can add to the custom dictionary. So if your school is going to come up on like every page, school name, and it's not in the dictionary, you can add it and then it won't continue to come up on that. All right. And so now let me show you. So we also have where if you have a certain background that you've created or you've bought, or that you want to apply to a page, this is the best way to do it. So if you go to your My Images, and I have uploaded a couple right here. And so say you want this one as your background, then you're going to drag and drop it onto the page. You're going to click the tools, and you're going to set images background. You're going to click full spread. It does have to be over both pages. And then once you close, it's going to show that that background is now applied. It's full bleed. Your page numbers are pulled to the front. And so this is the best way to apply a full background. You just have to make sure your image is large enough, and then it's not copyrighted, to be able to, apply to that background. And then I'm going to go over, so we're going to kind of get into a little bit of talk about images. So, you've got your images, you've uploaded them, you have tagged them, and they are over here now in nice, beautiful tags. And so you can just drag and drop it onto the page. So if I just dragged and dropped this image onto the page, it creates its own little image box, but it comes in huge. And so then you're trying to make it the size that you want, and it just gets wonky. Like, where did the swimmer even go? I don't know. He's gone. So it's just easier, better sometimes to have your image boxes already on the page, and so you can drag and drop that image in there, and then you have a little bit more flexibility. Like, it just falls in nicer. It's going to go ahead and fit to either the horizontal or vertical, whichever one is the best fit for it at that moment. And then you can double click on it and crop it. You also are going to have to watch for low res images. So cell phone photography is fabulous. These cell phones nowadays take really good images, but sometimes the way they are shared with you compresses them. So if they email it, if they text it, and then even it depends on, so even if they email it and it goes through Gmail versus AOL versus a different server email, it can compress in different ways. And so ideally, if there's a way that they can get those actual original images to you without having to email or text, then that's going to be best. I'm going to show you. So I uploaded some low res images. So this one was I sent in low. So like off of my phone, I have an iPhone, and I sent it by email low. And so, hang on, so say I'm wanting in this box, and I drag and drop it So you're going to get this message that says photo can't be larger than its max print size. it's weird wording, but what this is saying is that this box is too big for the low res image that you're trying to drop into it. Same with this one. This one I sent in medium. So that one will fall into that box because it was a little bit lower, but this one wouldn't. Now you can just drag and drop that particular picture onto the page, and this will show you how big it will print. You can hover over it and it will tell you 1.6 by 2.1. The medium was, 3 by 4 point something. But just to get a visual of it, you can drag and drop it onto the page, and then you can see how big or small it is going to be, because it won't let me make this picture any bigger. Like I'm trying and it won't let me. And I keep getting that blue message. So just make sure as you are trying to get images from people and that you do, if it is giving you that message, that's the issue. Try to go back to that person and see if you can get a larger image to help with that. Okay. So, I did talk really, really fast. So, Lindsay,
You did very good.
So that's all I had to go over. I was hoping for some time for some question and answers down here at the end. Lindsay, can you think of anything that I need to go over that I didn't touch on?
Maybe just quickly show where the other backgrounds are and the activity layouts. Because if you didn't touch on them, just remind everyone that we do have backgrounds to choose from. They don't have to upload a background.
Okay, so yeah, so your backgrounds are over here on the left. And so there are some recommended ones if you have selected a theme. And then otherwise, they are all down through here under different titles. And then we also have solid color. I think that gets hidden a lot of times down here. But if you are just wanting a solid color background, you'll just click on the color that you're wanting, and it'll turn that page to that color. And then at any point, if you need visually to be able to see it better, you can come to your guides and grids, and you can unclick show grid, and that kind of opens that back up to show you what it's going to look like before you proof it. I mean, the proofing is the best, but just if those lines are driving you crazy and you kind of want to see what it's going to look like, you can unclick that to get a little bit better of an idea. Anything else that you can think of, Lindsay?
Show where the activity layouts are.
So
We just
over
talked on
here,
portrait, yeah.
yeah. So over here under layouts, the portrait layouts were the ones that we kind of worked on today. The activity layouts, we do have several of those. Some of them are just left and right. Some of them are double page spreads. Once you get, like, this is a double page spread one. So if you dragged and dropped it onto the page, it's going to cover up both sides automatically. You can heart them so you can make them favorites. So I had favorited that one. So when you come up here, like, you have some favorites if, you're going down through there and are like, oh, I want this one or this one or this one, or I want to, look at them. And then you can unheart them if later you're like, okay, that didn't make the cut. So that's another way to kind of help with seeing what you want to see and pulling it over.
On page. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to go ahead and type those in the chat and we will take them as they come in. And then I know Miss Johnson also had a question. Well, she wanted us to repeat the steps when we were flowing the images. So if we have time for that, we can do that as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I think I think 14 was my blank. Yeah.
You're welcome to come off mute too if you have a question.
Yes. But just to go over that again, so you have your layout ready. Go to portrait images, find the group that you're wanting to flow, and just grab it and drag and drop it onto the page. Oh, except that one's already been flown. See, it's a really smart system, and it will tell you if, okay, so I'm going to do this faculty one because it doesn't have enough. it'll tell you that group's already been flown. So I just did another group instead. And you just drag and drop it and it'll flow onto the page.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Go ahead.
What is the TCH? When you drop down, you can see like teachers, classrooms, but then everybody is like a TCH.
So everybody's a TCH?
Well, the adults are.
Okay, so on yours, adults are a TCH?
Yes, and they'll
Okay.
have their name and then the classroom. So they're in two spots, but I don't know what the TCH stands for.
So it's just short for teacher, and that was just who knows in the data how that happened. But that's if you don't want them to be in there, like if you'd rather just have them in one that is a created group that you just put staff or staff and faculty, then you can go into that the portrait images and create a group and just call it, you know,
Okay.
staff and faculty, and then you can just put them all together. Because
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and because sometimes too, I will show you, oh, I didn't mean to go there right here. I know I didn't save it. Because sometimes are you in elementary?
Yes.
Okay, so your teacher in classroom will be shown, right? And so you probably had some, like all of your classroom teachers, and then you probably had a teacher classroom that says staff. And then you may have one that says TCH, you may have one that says STA, but you may also have to go to grade. And then under grade, there may be an STA or a TCH there as well. So
Oh,
sometimes it depends on whether we got their names ahead of time or not, and whether the photographer entered it when they came to the camera. So sometimes they're just put under the grade STA because technically they don't have a teacher or a homeroom because they are that. So you can just combine everything, and that's why sometimes creating this new group is the best option, because then you can go search in the different ones. So if you name it staff and faculty, go to add subjects, then you can go to that. And I don't know if this one has an
okay.
STA, but yeah,
So
you can
basically,
go.
I should take those homeroom teachers. I should take that off and just leave them in their homeroom. Correct?
Well, if you're wanting to flow, so they are in their classroom like this Eric one was.
Yes.
Let me get the back. So yours has Eric Atwood right there.
Yes, but they are coming up at the front.
Okay.
But they are in the class already. So should I just leave it like that and take that TCH off?
It depends on if you want them to flow alphabetically with the group, or if you did want them larger on that. Let me see where that, I think it was 12. So this page 12 and 13 kind of shows the two different options. So if you leave them in that classroom and you flow them, then the teacher image is going to show up right here.
Okay.
And then the kid. So if you're okay with that, I mean, that's great. Like a lot of schools do that. If you do want to pull the teacher out, have them a little bit larger, you'll have a little bit more proofing to do in your portrait library, because you'll want to go in there and remove him and put him in a different spot, and then flow just the kids.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then, did you have any other questions, Lindsay, that came up?
It looks like all the questions have been answered, unless there's any additional questions.
Okay. The only other thing I just thought of now that I didn't go over is kind of applying those custom layouts. So you can, as you're going through the book, just go ahead and drag and drop them, and then, kind of make your changes as you're going. That's what I did on my little boys book. But you can also, so you would just like, okay, I'm ready to do this page. I'm just going to drag and drop this on here, and I'm going to make my changes, as I go. I'm going to flow. I'm going to put my teachers in, whatever the situation. I'm going to do it that way. But you can also in the ladder diagram kind of do more of a mass. So if you are in detail or list, either one, and you edit all pages, it's going to open up all the information. You can insert your page description, which I think we went over earlier, but you can change your layout. If you do this, I would suggest naming it something that is kind of towards the front of the alphabet, because it goes through like all of the little layouts. But like you can go down through here and find class pages and do it that way. And then do it on however many pages, and then save all changes right up here in the top right. So that is an option to kind of do it on multiple pages. But like I said, you may want to, if you're going to do that, you may want to put like a 1 in front of it so it shows up at the beginning. And then you can save all changes and it'll be there.
All right.
Anything
well,
else?
Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope this was helpful. Please be sure to, we're going to send the recording out at the end of this today, as with the very first recording, which was about getting started. So that was more of an overview of the yearbook site. So please reference that one too if you have any questions. And then there's going to be a survey as well. We would love your feedback, and we'd love to hear what you would like to see in the future. And if you have any other questions, you're welcome to email me or Paige, and we'll make sure to put you in contact with your yearbook specialist.
And then do on your page too, keep in mind the Yearbook Advisor support contact information is in that bottom right-hand corner, and they are great to answer website questions. So where some of us as reps are on the road a lot, or in meetings and different things, Yearbook support is like sitting there ready to take phone calls and receive emails. So you can give them a call and say, hey, Paige and Lindsay showed me how to do this on a webinar, but I've forgotten. Can you show me again? So they will help you through some of this stuff.
And there's a chat feature as well that you can use for yearbook support.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done. No other questions. Good job, Paige.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Have a great evening.
Thank you. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Bye.
See you guys.